Hello, everyone, and welcome back. This is another Cosmic Gateway Roundtable. So this is Past Lives Part 2, and wherever we decide to go down. So thank you all for watching, and thank you for being here. So tonight I have the beautiful one and only Kaija from Heart to Heart. I have Ana from Vitraya. I have Antionette from Two to Become One, and right down the bottom there, we've got Kathy from the Blue Butterfly. Thank you, ladies, beautiful ladies, for being here. I am super excited to be coming back and talking about this topic because it's such a broad and vast and big topic. You know, we could talk about this for months, years. But I guess coming back since the last recording and obviously now, I've had so many very, very interesting things happen in my own world through people that I'm connected with and not connected with, and the similarities and the differences. And it was just a calling to come back and let's do round two and explore it and flesh it out. So I guess I just want to start off by saying that what I've been noticing, especially this year, is there has been some really really deep core clearing. When isn't there, let's face it, but in particular around apocalyptic events. I've written this on my post many times, but like past lives in ancient civilizations, and it's been very, very prevalent. And I'm just going to share one thing that came into my experience just recently, and it was just one of those "are you kidding me" moments. And so I want to go back to March, because March is sort of like the tipping point of when, at least for me, and I know for many others, it was like, oh, it's good, and oh, off we go. And so I was doing just a energy alignment session for someone who is quite close to me, and obviously in my session, you know, a lot of past life things can happen. We do clearing as a part of the energy alignment session, as you beautiful ladies would know. And I was downloaded with a whole heap of images, messages, information around ancient Egypt and this person's experience and what they were clearing. And it was so profoundly obvious to me. It was like, oh my goodness, that was the blaring obvious that I hadn't clicked into place. And it was basically around the fact that, you know, how a lot of people have different conditions around fears and making decisions and wrong choices, and they sort of get into that stagnant place of, what's the word I'm looking for? Inability to move one way or another because of that sort of inner conflict, perhaps. And it was so clear that there was a choice that was made that went wrong during the times of ancient Egypt, and it created mass, you know, destruction, for lack of a better word. And it was like, I could see in that moment why that person was carrying such a conflict within about making the wrong choices, because their experience in the past has led them to like making a choice, and then devastation creates, you know, hurt and pain and whatever it does. And it was like, it dawned on me, and I was like, wow, that's pretty prevalent, and that's a big thing to be clearing. And haven't really thought about it. And then I got into this conversation with the soul sister over the last couple of weeks, and she basically recounted in such specific detail almost the identical thing that was revealed to her during a session, not with me, with someone else, at the same time. And I, like, the words, the description, the same things that they both experienced is very, very similar, as I was observing their behaviors and some of the things that they're overcoming and healing from. Absolutely blew me away. So I really felt like it was time to share that, and, you know, obviously ask permission, because just wow, you know, if two people are going through it that are in my, you know, soul tribe, in my vicinity, then that's going to be prevalent for a lot of other people. And I mean, I'll leave it at that for now, and I'll maybe bring other elements to it. But I guess it comes into the question, which I've written down here, is like uncovering past life memories. And I'll put this to you ladies, like uncovering past life memories. Why is that important? You know, someone might ask, like, why? If it's in the past, then what does it matter, right? Why is it important to uncover or heal or clear in the present time? So I'm going to throw it out to you, ladies. Anyone can pick up that ball and keep going.
I actually have a cool story. So today, my son, Alisha, as you know, I did a healing on him. So for those of you guys that know, my son's 18 and he's like, nah, don't want anything to do with spirituality. But in the last couple of days, he's actually said, yeah, what do you do? Cut a long story short, in the session today, and you just prompted me to think about that because I saw a past life image of him with someone else. And the way I described it to him, he then said, hey, that's almost exactly like what happened at school camp last year. Like the same scenario with this other person, like with the sand and everything. But I mean, you know, I said, so I mean, you might want to heal that past life energy. And it's like, no, it's in the past. Why would you want to go back there? And I'll make him watch this video actually because maybe someone else can tell him why it's important to past life.
I love it. Thank you. And it's so relevant, so relevant. And it doesn't matter what age you are, we are all souls that have been on many rotations, and the more rotations, the more we accumulate to get to our ascension, either our personal or planetary, where we are right now, to clear that. And that's been one of the things that I've aligned with, or information that's come to me, is that as you get to your ascension point, you clear past life energy to then ascend into the next density. Anyway, thank you, Anna. Ladies, I'm going to throw the question to you. Why is what is the question again? Why is it why is it important to uncover and heal past life to you guys?
It helps you make so much more sense of what's going on in your life, and also the people around you, and how you can, it's facing all this stuff that's in your memory but buried. And once you face it, there are fears, like you say, things going on around you, and things, the way you react to things that may be totally nonsensical to yourself and others. Once you delve in and once you face it, and sometimes I've noticed in my sessions as well, it's kind of, I can feel the client, you must as well, sort of like, oh yes, we're getting deep and dirty here, I don't want to face this. Once you start opening up and you actually face it and see it, then you start to understand it. And yes, there is emotion. And I was going to use an example of a lovely lady who lives in America, who I do a lot of online sessions with, and she won't mind me sharing this at all. I'm not going to mention her name, but she's always struggled with men from in this particular life, and she's always felt very held down. And when she first came to me, all I could see was this beautiful divine feminine energy that was just like, it was almost like a boil. It was coming out in all the wrong places, and she could be quite aggressive, and it was all scattered because she didn't know what to do with it. The essence was beautiful, but it was finding the way for it to express. So when I did blue flame healing with her, we got into this past life where, there was a couple of past lives. She was right around the time where her lineage had been Egyptian priestesses who were very well respected. And as you know, matriarchal society and patriarchal, it was very much more even. And because I deal a lot with divine feminine energies and stuff with people, and always have, this just seemed to make sense. And I was very interested anyway. she was right at that point when her lineage, from being highly respected and revered and having all this power and knowing who they were, she was at that phase where it became patriarchal. All of it was pulled away from her, and she was basically dropped, like, okay, and it was, you're not important, we're not going to listen to you, you have no place in this society anymore. She was there around that time. So we went to a place where she had all this respect and this power, and she knew who she was, and people used to come to her for her wisdom, and she felt this great sense of herself. And then she went through a phase where it was all taken away. And because she went from there to there, and she saw this society, and as funny as you were talking about it, she saw society turned on its head, basically, and it was like a very cataclysmic thing. Then she lost her sense of self, and she lost her sense of power to men. And that particular session, when she saw that, she got very, very emotional and very, very angry. There's a lot of anger came out in that session, a lot of tears. And then she just started saying, I won't say the word, I, Fucking, deserve, I'm allowed, I can, I have, I will. And it was just like all completely new to her. And since then, she's had different sessions with me, and watching in her life generally, not just with me and what she's been doing, watching that beautiful lady, my crown chakra's going off now, watching that beautiful lady blossom and bloom and remember who she is and feel that strength. And that's why, to me, that's an example of why it's important. So important.
Oh, thank you, Kathy. That's such a beautiful example and a great case study. And I guess that was one of the reasons originally to do this roundtable, is to share different case studies of what is possible when we do this work and how important it is to sort of normalize it and get people more engaged, or at least the understanding of it. So yay, and yay to your client. That's just, I love hearing those stories. That's what I live for.
She's doing, proud of her as well. She's exactly who I knew she was, if you know what I mean. But now I'm seeing it all revealing. I said to her, it's like watching you do the dance of the 7 veils without the naked. That's what it reminds me of. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. I'm going to make a note. Remind me to come back, because I want to go to Kaija and Antionette, but it just reminded me when you were talking about Egypt and priestess, and Anna and I were having a conversation on the weekend about how, and I know that there will be many people watching and go, yes, how come everyone seems to have a past life as a priestess, Egyptian, this, that, the other, right? Because that's all you hear about. You don't, I mean, we have varied ones, but you don't often, it's those ones that you hear about. It's not the you know, the poor person in the street that died of, you know, it's always these grand, you know, grandesque kind of lifetime.
Yeah.
But in that conversation, I think it was Lockie that said, well, you know, the Egyptian, you know, what's the word?
Years or whatever.
Sorry, what was that?
Me? Sorry. Yeah, he said it makes sense why there are so many, because the Egyptians, I guess, existed for X amount of years, like 8,000 years.
I think it was 3,000. 3,000, I think he said. I actually don't know. I should look at that up. And so it was like, oh, well, when you put it like that, and he was doing the maths on it. He's like, 3,000, you know, if there's, you know, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, there was quite a few in different levels and layers. But one other thing that I want to kind of bring into this conversation, just touch on it quickly, is that one thing that has come into my sessions, and I think this ties back to the story that I was sharing in the beginning, because I think the first time I ever saw it was working on this person that I had the conversation with recently. And I have seen it not that often, but I feel like this is going to be an important piece for some people. So people who resonate with being a starseed, who haven't necessarily had any earth lifetimes at all. What I've seen in sessions is that they have kind of like filtered memories, or film memories. Maybe that's a better way to describe it. And the imagery that I've seen is literally like on their energy field. It's like they're wearing a wetsuit, or like a very tight sort of suit that's been put onto their energy field. Obviously not their physical body, but onto their energy field, that contains different consciousness or energy that pertains to different past life memories that aren't actually theirs at all, but it's helping them adjust to coming in to Earth and living and fulfilling their mission and what they're here to do. And it's just a device that's literally going to help them identify with Earth culture or different aspects of what they're here to clear in their own personal mission and template. Most fascinating thing, and that's what I love about the sessions, is things like that come through and I'm like, whoa, and it's like, well, yeah, that makes sense, right? So tying it back into why is there so many Egyptian priestesses or whatever, literally there could be many souls that are literally, they have that as part of their own, it's an energy or a consciousness that they're connected with. Not necessarily it was a incarnation that they physically experienced, but they're connected to that energy and consciousness. And maybe that also blends into the soul group. And I know, Kaija, you want to get into soul contracts later, but we're sort of edging there at this point. But maybe there's so many different ways to look at it, and I think it's really about expanding our perception beyond just the stock standard past life regression. And
when you think about like Sirius and Orion and all the connections with Egypt and
right.
Lion's Gate and everything, all of those things, it makes sense, doesn't it? It makes so much sense.
Yeah,
that was the starting point for a lot.
Yes, actually, I had a beautiful, like a mind-blowing conversation with a client today around that, but we won't go there. I'm like, oh, there's so many synchronicity. But going back to you, Kaija or Antionette, did you want to jump in and share something or answer that question that I can't even remember what the question is anymore? Sorry, guys.
The question was, why is it important to go back into past lives? Wasn't
Thank
it?
you.
Yeah. Okay. It's really important for a lot of reasons. I'm going to give an example. I mean, first of all, I'll just say some of us have got phobias against things, and we really don't understand. We can't remember anything that happened in this lifetime, and we can't understand why we do. So you could have like phobias against animals or situations or places, or you might be drawn to a place and you don't know why you are.
To people.
Yeah. And so you might be drawn to people, you might be drawn to places, you might be drawn to a certain like lifestyle or a certain dress or a certain era in history. You can be drawn to all those things. And like what Kathy said, past lives bring a lot of clarity and understanding, and they help you to, and I think once you start unlocking one, you start unlocking the next and the next, and more comes in. So I'll quickly just share about a phobia. So this is one of the important reasons why, it's good to go back into a past life. So I have permission from my hubby to share this. So he's not a client as such. So a couple of years ago, here in Sydney, there was a Titanic exhibition. And we've never watched the movie, neither of us. Like, okay, what rock have I been under, right? I haven't watched Titanic. But but I honestly have not watched it. Like, I know the story. I know I know what happens, but like I've never watched the movie. And it's funny that I'm bringing that up because I knew that my husband has got a phobia of watching movies or watching boats sink or movies where boats sink. So I think subconsciously I didn't want to watch it because I knew that he had a phobia with it. So I just sort of kind of thought, oh yeah, I know what happens, you know, goes down and all that. Anyway, so we went to this Titanic exhibition and we're walking through, and it was almost in the last part of it, and they had a board with all these names on it, the people that were on the Titanic. And it was really weird because it was the way they did it is we walked in and it was like you were actually moving on the boat, like they had something happening so that you felt like you were moving on the boat. This was like the last bit almost to the exit. And I looked over at him and he went so pale and he's just like almost shaking from agitation. And I said to him, "Are you okay?" He goes, "I've got to get out of here. I've just got to get out of here." And he says, "Look, I'll meet you outside. I've just got to get out of here." It was like he was suffocating and he just had to run. It was like this panic attack. And I thought, oh, okay. I know that he can't watch movies with boats sinking, but this is not a movie. Like, okay, so this must have the same effect on him. And he's never been able to understand why. This is from when he was a young boy, that he couldn't watch movies with boats sinking. So I can't remember if it was that night or if it was not, maybe the day after. He said to me, "You do this past life thing, don't you?" I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Do you think you can do it with me?" And I said, "Well, yeah." I said, I said, "I'm being guided to guide you through meditation rather than just tell you the messages that sometimes I'm guided to guide someone. Sometimes I'm guided to actually just tell them." And so we started the meditation and I started guiding him through the meditation, and I could see he was getting agitated. So obviously he was going in somewhere. And I always reassure people that if you are uncomfortable, or if you're experiencing discomfort or pain, or, it's just too much, remember, you're not there. Like, you're in this lifetime, you're not actually there. So I reassured him and he kept on going. Anyway, he told me afterwards that he was some sort of Navy or seaman. And he was dressed up in a uniform. And actually I could see the uniform that he described when we were going through. And he said that he was out at sea and something had happened with this boat, with this ship, and he actually escaped. But then he watched the ship go down with all the rest of the people that were on it. So we both had a bit of a moment, and he said, "Maybe this is why. Maybe this is why I panicked in the exhibition." He says, "Maybe this is why I can't watch films where there's boats sinking." And it was quite profound, and it's just an example of how it can give you answers that you really can't find anywhere else. Mm-hmm. And it's and I get it. Like, I was really sort of kind of scared the first time I went into there, but it gives you clarity that you cannot find. And it's like these aha moments. And then once you get one aha moment, you'll get another one and another one, and all the dots will start to connect. So that's another reason why, it's important, especially if you have phobias, or you really want to understand why why you feel this way, or why you act this way, or why you have this hang up, or what, you know, whatever it is. It can be anything. You can sometimes find I'm not saying that you can find it all the time, but you can sometimes find it in that we've brought it in from a past life.
Beautifully said, Antionette. Thank you so much for sharing, and thank you to your husband for allowing you to share that
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you. It's amazing, and yeah, definitely, like, fears and phobias, to be able to, when they don't make any sense, you know, and we can really, like, work through massive fears and traumas and stuff like that just through, sometimes just the awareness of it can relieve it, acknowledging it, you know. Sometimes it doesn't have to be, but obviously it's individual and to get that across. But you just reminded me, I had a very similar experience in Cairo Museum in Egypt. I won't go into great detail, but I had a real aversion to going to Egypt the first time. I've been there 3 times now. Love it. It's the greatest place on earth. But the first time I was like...
Alisha, that's very strange you say that, because I was terrified about going to Egypt until about 3 or 4 years ago. And then suddenly when I started remembering and my awakening and then my ascension happened, it was like, I have to go to Egypt. It wasn't like a gradual thing. It was just like, oh God, I'm terrified. I can't go there, but I don't know why. I have to go there. I still haven't been yet, but sorry to interrupt, but yeah.
That's all right. You'll get there in due course. I often joke that I was coerced by spirit to Egypt because I was actually booked and going to Tibet, you know, and I was going to meet my dad. And then the borders closed. Boom. And yeah, and somehow meeting my dad in Tibet was this is in 2008. Ended up at 10 days in Egypt, and a huge amount of healing. Like I couldn't have even comprehended it. So, but it all got triggered while walking through the museum in Cairo, and I went into like this trance-like state, and I was just having flashback after flashback after flashback. So, and the most profound things happened on that journey. But anyway, I want to get to you, Kaija, because I know that you've had a very interesting individual experience. And
first of all, I can say I think one of the first sessions I had with you told me, seeing me like in a Cleopatra shape as well, and having a past life in Egypt. So as we talk about Egypt,
we'll just call this episode Past Life Egypt.
Egypt.
Yeah.
And the other thing is the personal experience of me when it was this year, I think in May, I started to have a huge pain in my right shoulder. Something this shoulder is fragile. I know it's often tense, and I have in my neck pain that this is usual, but this pain was really new and was the whole shoulder. I had days I hardly couldn't move my right arm, and then as we are soul sisters and I'm connected with so much amazing healers here, I reached out and I said, I need support. Anybody has something? And I swapped sessions with Antionette. So Antionette would propose to have a session, and the first thing you told me is not a guided meditation, that you had already a lot of information about a past life when I was a slave and I was a woman on a coffee plantation in the south of America, where Colombia somewhere. And then what was interesting in the session, that I had memories as well. It was like a puzzle, pieces coming together, a lot of really direct correlations with my life situations, with people involved in that life. I had really deep soul contracts to finish in this life as well. And what was beautiful as well, to discover a gift of mine in this past life, that I paint and I get information. And this woman to survive, I saw her sitting on the ground and playing with stones and nature, pieces of nature. And then these idea came up for me to paint on stones, and this name of painting soul stones for clients. And I do this in the meantime and get like concentrated information. It's different than when I paint on canvas. And the pain went away after. It was not directly, but it vanished really. And I was punished on the shoulder, really hard punished for, I think it was plants dying, coffee plants dying, and I tried so hard to save them. I did all I could, but they were ill. And so I'm really connected in this lifetime with nature as well. I care for nature and the cat passing by, like for you, Ana. And this was, it was really interesting I went in feelings as well, and had the feeling I release pain of this relationship that was coming back in a way, and a consolation as well. And then the physical pain went away, as if the pain was there to remind me to have a look what happened then that I have to release in this lifetime, which is really amazing.
Oh my goodness. I can't thank you enough for sharing that personal journey, but that literally is the full, like, encompassed version of what is possible, and you know, just that whole aspect of like tapping into gifts and abilities, and making that part of your soul work and your soul mission in this lifetime. Of course, contracts with others and wrapping them up, because, you know, let's face it, if someone, you know, it's not like, you know, we play out these karmic, you know, back and forth in one lifetime and then you both die, and it's like, no, it doesn't work like that. You click over to the next cycle. And just that whole example of the physical pain, and how physical pain can heal through, I always see it as like the higher self trying to bring the awareness to something through physical pain, through the body. So you just like hit on all those points in that story. So I can't thank you enough for sharing that. And which is going to be the perfect follow on, because you may have seen me and Ana like make eyes and point at each other, because she's going to share something very, very similar. So it's a perfect flow on. And I just realized that we have cats everywhere too. So.
Yeah, we do. Egyptian.
Something magical about this recording. But
Kaija, you kind of triggered me a couple of times there, actually. I was racing. I'm like, I'll expand on the rocks as well, because you prompted me a memory from a past life session that I had with Alisha. Yeah, you don't remember, because I don't even remember until now when Kaija just said it. But I can't remember how long ago it was now, but I was, like you, Kaija, I had a lot of shoulder pain. This went on for about 5 or 6 years. It got progressively worse. I think being in that relationship that I was in as well definitely made the whole past life pain resurface. Now that I think about it, it was probably him that stabbed me in the back in the past life. But I had this pain. I went to doctors, I went to chiropractors, they did x-rays, 3 x-rays that I had actually, and all of them said, you must have been in a car accident, your shoulder's a little bit out, blah, blah, blah. But what was interesting was every night when I went to bed, that was when the pain would worsen to a point that I couldn't move. Mm-hmm. And this was before I went into any spiritual healing modalities. So our girlfriend actually said, oh, I've been seeing this Reiki lady, you should go and see her. So the pain got so bad that I did go and see the Reiki lady. I can't remember her name now. She was amazing. But in my first session with her, she was doing some energy work on my shoulder. And as she was pulling things out, it felt like there were needles being pulled out of my shoulder. Like I could feel it on a physical level. So I was completely blown away with the whole thing, you know. So basically she said that it looked like I was stabbed in my back in my past life. But it just really took me by surprise that you could feel that stuff on a physical level, and she wasn't even touching me. The pain lifted eventually, which I did see her a couple more times, because then obviously then there's more the energetic stuff that's left behind from that kind of trauma. But then you were talking about the rocks and how you're painting on them. And Alisha, I didn't tell you this, but in one of my past live sessions with you, I don't even know what planet it was now, but I saw people everywhere, and there were people painting on rocks.
Mm-hmm.
Like little, I don't know what they were painting, but rocks this size or this size. And I've completely forgotten about that until you just mentioned it, because I could almost see it in my head as you were talking about it. I can't remember what I was talking about now. So
Past life rocks.
So I just I don't
Egypt.
know. Sorry, Kathy.
Egypt. Was it an Egypt past life that Alisha was referring to?
Oh, interesting, because hieroglyphics. Rock.
Hieroglyphics.
Yeah. Or was it off planet, Anna?
That was a planet, because there were blue people.
Oh, well, they were in Egypt. I'm sure they were at some point.
Egypt, I don't know.
I'm pretty sure when I was in Egypt, I was blue. So
Really?
fine. Yeah, everything I see, I'm blue. I've got blue. Yes, a lot of blue.
Okay, well, maybe it was Egypt.
Well, it's Egypt themed tonight, but that's incredible. I love that story. And I remember when you first shared that with me, I was like, when we were going to do this, I was like, Anna, are you going to come on and share that? Because that's, another beautiful example of how physical, can, past life trauma, sorry, let me start again. Past life trauma can then carry energetically and then come into the physical body. And once that is released and removed, we can literally physically heal, and obviously there's emotional and mental and all sorts of other elements and aspects. But how cool with the rocks as well. Maybe you two need to connect and chat about rocks and and artwork.
Maybe it was Kaija and her family painting the rocks. Kathy was
No,
it.
you will find out.
I was there wandering around being blue. Is that Egyptian? I don't know, that Egyptian down. It's that way, isn't it? Yeah, sorry. Told you I was scattered today. I can't even do that.
I can't believe this Egyptian thing is, well, I can believe it's come up because I was scrolling through my notes on my phone today looking for something, and I came across some notes that I made in one of your transmissions, Alisha. I don't know which one, I can't remember which one it was, but probably in the last year, I would say. And it was about walking through doors, walking through different doors.
Oh, yeah.
And one of them, I walked in and I was that Egyptian priestess.
See, everyone's had one. Everyone has had one.
And I'm like, now I've been waiting, like, because you guys are talking about it, I'm thinking, oh, out of all days, today I was scrolling through looking for something. And I went through a door and I found out that I was an Egyptian priestess, and then it's references to Cleopatra and all of this. And I've always had a thing with Cleopatra, so I'm sure we were all there.
And I think that brings up a beautiful point, is that, like, not only the quote unquote negative experiences that we have, that we have to heal karma, we also we follow each other around in our soul groups, don't we? So we've all connected.
Like, we swap connections and we swap relationships and all that type of thing, and then we can understand why this person is in our life again, because they've been in our life before, but they may have not been in the same capacity, or and all sorts of things can, once you open to it, all sorts of things can come through, and it doesn't have to be negative.
Absolutely not. Absolutely.
I'm trying to think about the Egyptian thing as well. And just that Anna was talking about Reiki. When I first decided that, I knew I was starting to find out and remember about myself, then I started to wake up. And the first thing I did was crystal healing, and then I did Reiki. when I did my Reiki course and when I booked it, I didn't know, I just wanted Reiki. And this was Reiki Seiken, which I thought, well, that will do, because I don't know much about it. That's I'm going to do that. That's perfect. Did it, and then I found out that Seiken is to do with Sekhmet. And Sekhmet, obviously, was a massive Egyptian goddess, divine feminine priestess. There was a cult of Sekhmet priestesses, and they worked a lot healing. And I had dreams about this about 2 years ago before I could put it all together, underneath pyramids. And I've actually seen it on the pyramid code. The crystal altars made completely of crystal, and Sekhmet's priestesses worked underneath the pyramids and worked with people, healing them on these crystal altars. And of course, I ended up doing Reiki Seiken, and I did the crystal healing and da-di-da.
Far out. That's incredible. God, I'm having all these flashback Egyptian memories, not past life, this lifetime. I've had some pretty epic adventures, but I'm glad you explained that type of Seiken and what that means, and the correlation for those people who don't know.
Yes.
How very fascinating. Who knew tonight's conversation was going to take a little, down the...
Who knew, right? Like as if it never happens.
It's a miracle.
This is something we're so not used to, right?
I know.
I think I forget what stories I mentioned in that, but I spoke about I don't know why this is coming up, but a lot of the karmic, I say karmic, but like people who I had some intense past life stuff to clear with in terms of relationships in this lifetime. And I do believe on the divine partnership path is you come in and you have some pretty hardcore... everyone's pulling the awkward face now, but I went there. I have these theories about, spiral relationships. People say, karmic relationships and things like that. Different terminology, but, my understanding is that if we've brought into this life strong soul connections that haven't closed the karmic completion cycle, that, we're lovers or whatever, we've got to clear all that before we come into a divine partnership or twin connection. At least that's understanding my journey. And that's why I was taken to some really wild remote places, because I had to connect with these people to close it off. And I had some wild experiences, and Egypt was one of them, and it's not limited to that. But the person that I connected with there, I literally felt his energy presence before I saw him. I felt him walk behind me, and I just kind of, whoa, what was that? And it was all connected. It all started while I was at the museum. And then I went to Valley of the Kings. So I won't go into much detail, but there's a connection there. And I did some sort of ritual in my mind, just, and I said, I'm here. And this is what I was always guided to do when I was closing that cycle is, I can't remember the exact words, but it was like, I'm here to heal what has happened in the past. I come here with peace. I come here with love. I forgive you, please. It was this kind of thing that I used to say and sort of energetically bring into completion. And so I was in one of the tombs actually doing that next to a sarcophagus. And I was like, but I knew it wasn't complete. And I kept saying, whatever I'm meant to see or experience here, bring it to me. Like, bring it. And literally that evening, I met that person, and yes, there was stuff that we had to bring into completion, and there was definitely a recognition there from both parts of someone who'd never been exposed to any past life information at all. It wasn't even not in their religion that that's even possible, but it was very obvious to both of us, and I've had. I am very blessed. I've had many of those experiences to understand these soul connections. So
Just add on to that, Leash, you know, sometimes you meet people and you're like, oh, there's such a strong connection, or you think you're in love with someone, or, you know, there's a sense of remembering, knowing whether it's a past life thing, a karmic thing, you know, a twin flame thing, can really help with clearing the head and, you know, not getting too caught up in it, because you can determine what kind of remembering or connection that is.
100%, Anna, and I'm so glad you brought that up, because I've said many, many times, and I'm sure you ladies would agree with me, you know, it takes experience and life experience to kind of have a better understanding of what type of relationship and connection is what. And, you know, in my 20s, because I was very much seeking this divine union. I knew from a very young age, so I was like, let me at it. And I was just, you know, and it was always very elusive, because obviously I wasn't given the person straight away or the end, because I was so focused on the finish line, like, let me get there because I've got this important work to do. And that's why it can be elusive, because we're guided to interact and connect with people that we're meant to for specific reasons at specific times, and it can be very, very confusing. There was a point that I was getting to with that, and it's just completely blanked me. But yeah, I've always said that in throughout my 20s and things like that, I had some such intense connections that I'm glad that I wasn't doing this work back then, because I would have been one of those, like, you know, I would have gone through many, many twin flames, because you have these intense, you know, and it may not even necessarily be a long-term thing, or it doesn't even have to be an intimate or sexual thing, but there's this magnetic charge pull. And my theory is, not always, it's not foolproof, but my theory is the stronger the there's a reason to get in and get out quickly, because there's stuff that has to unravel, and sometimes it can, you know, you can feel like you're coerced in a sense, because you go in there thinking it's one thing, only to realize that it's not at all what but it's necessary for our evolution and growth. And as we go through what I call those cycle relationships, we evolve in our frequency and our healing process, so that we can become more in depth on our ascension path and really refine to come into resonance and alignment, so that when we are going to come in contact with a divine partner or a twin, we're ready and we have experience in the realms of whatever we need to. So
I think as well, very often, as happens with the divine partnerships, there is the one before, just before that, for a lot of people, where they think this is it, and that's when you start looking up about, finding out about twin flames, etc. Blah, 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 and you think, God, this has got all the markers, this is definitely it. But something back here, if you look back, has always been telling you, no, it's not. No, it's not. And that's almost like a training ground.
yes.
So you have to go through that, and then you, very, very often, for a lot of people, not very long after that, you're like, right, okay, I've learnt that, I've come through that, I've put that to one side, I'm not being triggered anymore, that's done, and all the rest of it. And then suddenly it's like, slam, there you are.
Right. Yeah.
Just at the right time. Just.
Yeah.
That old divine timing. See?
Divine timing.
Sure is. And that is actually really common. Like, thanks for bringing that up. I have terminologies for these. I call them the high initiators. And they're the ones that take you through effing hell and back again.
Yeah.
Is that what they're called?
Yes. That's my eloquent term for the high initiator.
That's your diplomatic way.
What was that?
That's your diplomatic label for those people.
I love it.
I need to adopt that one, because it's much more gentler than the one that I would have
well,
used.
I remember the first time Alisha told me that, I actually Googled it thinking it
What
was
did
a
you-
real.
Oh, no, that's just...
It's
That's
Alisha
rubbish.
made. It's Alisha made.
Sorry, Anna.
That's okay.
How long did you spend trying to find it?
No, not long, because I was on the phone to her and she was telling me I was talking to her about a pretty high initiator relationship that I went through. So just while I was on the phone to her, I Googled, thinking, is that like a medical term?
That's brilliant.
Anna and I had a very similar high initiator experience around the same time. I think ended around the same time. When we compared notes, it was a quite uncanny. So, yes.
Wasn't it? Like even some memories, like certain memories were like almost identical.
Yeah. Very. And I think that's a beautiful thing when you come into resonance with soul tribe, is that you'll have so much commonality, whether it's past life, whether it's present life, skills, gifts, all that sort of thing, that you can, it's what bonds you together. It's beautiful.
I think it's important to pass that on to people as well, because when going through my life and the way that I felt very different and blocked a lot of stuff, etc. Like we all, some of us have done that sort of thing to fit in. If you start seeing things online, or you see somebody that you resonate with, or you bump into somebody and just out of the blue at a party or something, they start talking, and it's that sort of, it's almost like coming home, isn't it? It's like, and it just makes you feel like so comfortable. So anybody who feels like that, always to follow it up.
Yeah.
Just like throw that in there.
Yeah.
Told to throw that in there, so I did.
And it can be anyone.
Yes, anyone.
Yeah.
But I have a lot as well. I don't know if you know that. I know I have a really old soul, that often I meet people who say, I know you, or I know somebody who is so equally to you. And in the meantime, I think, okay, yeah, we have met. Not this lifetime. We have met already. Yes, for sure, we know each other.
I remember when I went to my my Reiki training and went in, and my teacher was there, right? So we're back sort of 3 years ago. And she had Palo Santo. I'd heard of it. I didn't really know what it was. And I walked in and she was wafting this stuff around this stick. Like, and this is when I was just coming into everything. And I'm like, okay. And she sort of hugged me and everything. And I said, I don't know what that is, but I really like it and I recognize it. But I don't think I've ever, seen it or smelled it before. And she looked at me and she said, yes, you have. And I said, no, I haven't. She went, yes, you have. And I'm like, no, I haven't. And she said, and she just pushed me. And she said, no, she said, not in this life, darling.
Oh, that's classic.
Yeah, so that was lovely. That sort of thing happens as well.
Yeah, definitely. And back to what you were saying, Kaija, you just reminded me that the first time that we met, I looked straight at your eyes and I was like, oh, there you are. Wow, it's been a long time.
Wow.
That's lovely, isn't
right
it?
back to that moment. I do remember that quite clearly. And it's in the eyes, isn't it? It's in the eyes. It's that soul recognition that we remember. We not only do we remember other souls, but in that reflection, we start to remember more of who we are.
That's lovely. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, very true.
Oh, goosebumps.
I think we might wrap it up at that, because we're getting close to the end of the hour. But I just want to thank each and every one of you for being here and your participation and your sharing, and thank everyone for watching. And of course, as always, if you have questions, if you ladies, not guys, if you ladies would like to come back and let's keep going down this topic. I mean, this is just such an activating, beautiful conversation, and I think this could just keep going and going. But if anyone has any questions that they would like us to talk about or cover, put that in the comment section. That would be beautiful. And that's it from me, but I'm going to throw it back to you, ladies, if you have any closing thoughts or comments or statements or
Just keep an open mind, just keep an open mind. And I truly believe that you'll be shown what you can handle. You won't be shown anything that you can't handle.
Yeah.
You'll be shown what you're ready for.
At the right time. Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautifully said. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for all the cats that have co-starred in this recording.
And their little cameo.
My cats usually turn up, don't they? Charlie's like he's always the star. He's always turning up. But today, your cats were the stars today. I think mine are asleep.
Someone had to do it. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Big love, and we will see you all soon. Bye.
Peace.